Living in the Past is a Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth, and Everlook Broadcasting production. This is Living in the Past, your Everlook Broadcasting Company monthly show about all things Turtle, Mysteries of Azeroth. Today is Friday, June 28th, 2024, and I'm Dan, your host for the next hour. Apologies for the 1 week delay on the show. Hopefully it meant more people got in on the guild shoutouts coming up here at the end of the broadcast. Oh boy, there are a lot too, so I think my assumption on that is accurate. I will also say, before we even get started into the show itself, we recorded a look under the shell for next week just the other day, and it's really exciting, some of the stuff we talked about. The first segment is more of a baseline almost of rating currently on Turtle, but the second segment, Akalix drops a bomb or two on us. I was a little shocked to hear some of the information. I think Vrograg was surprised to hear some of it as well. And our guest, Ducky from Doom Turtles, had some very interesting thoughts on where rating is going. So let me tell you what, next Friday, is going to be when that episode airs of A Look Under the Shell, and then as soon as possible afterwards, it's going to be up on YouTube. So look forward to that. It's a really good episode. We do end up going a little long. I try to keep these shows contained to an hour, but sometimes the conversation is just too good to stop, essentially, and we have to keep going. So Look forward to that next week. But we are here in the here and now. We're here this Friday, which means we have tons of patch notes to talk about. I'm going to be covering the June 19th and June 26th patch notes, so we'll be going through that in a moment here. Also, in our second segment, I'm going to be talking about kind of the background of the Vanilla Initiative, as I call it, talking about kind of where it started for some of us. I'll say some of us back in the day, and I'm going to be dialing things back quite far, over a decade or so, on that. And then in our third segment, as I mentioned, it's guild shoutouts. So these first two segments might be a little short. I'm still going to try and keep the 6 songs in rotation here during the show to keep people entertained. But these first two segments might be a touch short because I have, about 6.5 pages of dense writing for all these guild shoutouts. I love doing this. This is one of my favorite things to do in really signal boosting everything that's going on the server. So we're just gonna get right on into it. So starting off here, we are talking about patch notes. Now we're talking June 19th and June 26th on the patch notes. There's actually some similarities between the two sets of patch notes. There's a little crossover going on. So we have, first off, June 19th, where probably one of the biggest changes in here is Patchwork. I'm sorry, not Patchwork. Stitches. Stitches had his aggro range reduced. So flying players in air would not cause an issue with aggroing him, but also just in general reducing the aggro range for Stitches. The similarity here is Patchwork another abomination, a wonderful, fantastic abomination. Hateful Strike apparently now has a finite range. Now, I'm not sure if this was a serious issue, but this is actually something I might check with one of the devs about. Before this patch, was Patchwork's Hateful Strikes range infinite? And if so, how did that work? Did he just toss his hook at someone and say, "No, you die now"? I'm actually kind of really curious about that. And speaking of Patchwork and tanking, there is another change on here. Apparently, there was an old safeguard for world bosses when a rogue would try and solo them. Rograg, I'm talking to you about this. That has been removed. So good news, Rograg can go back to soloing whatever he wants whenever he wants. And of course, I will mention that the similarity there is he's still trying to off-tank Patchwork. And, we respect him for it. We respect him for that. One day rogue tanking will make a comeback. And he'll feel better about himself for it. We support that. We love that here. Back to the June 19th patch notes. There was an issue where if you jumped as you were hopping on one of the flying mounts, so like the Griffin that you can get for 30 seconds out of Goldshire, the mount would break entirely if you jumped the moment you click the option to become mounted. That has been fixed. There was also an issue where fallen soldiers would occasionally stand back up and start attacking totems. That has also been fixed. So congratulations to Shamans on that. There was also an issue. This I think is actually hilarious. When a mage did a race change, apparently portal spells would not swap correctly to the new faction. So you would be an undead mage with the ability to portal to Stormwind. Oops. That's interesting. So that has been fixed. That has been fixed. Also, there was some exploits fixed in this patch with both Kel'Thuzad and Gothic over in Nax. Moving on to the rest of the June 26th patch notes. I'm sorry, I'm skipping around just a little bit here. There were a few issues with chill effects for improved Blizzard not applying correctly. Those have been fixed. I mentioned the Hateful Strikes change already. There was also an issue where quest items could not be looted with Master Loot turned on. That has apparently also been fixed. There was also, and this actually apparently has a bit of a background, there was an attack power reduction issue where NPCs weren't having their attack powers reduced correctly with spells that reduce attack power. This has been fixed, but the fact of the matter is that this has actually been an ongoing issue for a very long time. A very long time. And the reason that it hasn't been fixed up till this point is developers are actually unable to replicate the issue in testing environments. For those that don't really understand what that means, developers don't just go onto the live servers and see, okay, what's going on, and poke and prod at it there. They have their own side servers set up as testing environments so they can see, okay, what's actually going on here. They can actually set up, the mobs, the spells, the abilities, and do everything they can to replicate the issue. They were unable to correctly replicate it to figure out the source of the bug, but that has now come to a conclusion and the issue has been fixed. So wonderful to hear. Those are the major updates. Those are the major fixes in these patches. There are other things I'm skipping over here. There's some minor changes throughout all patches, and not all of it is always fully documented because, okay, we tweaked this ability by 1 attack power. They're not going to document everything. So, as always, make sure you head over to the forums, educate yourselves on the updates regularly, and of course, make sure you're preparing for 1.17.2, which should hopefully, I am crossing every digit I can right now while saying this, should hopefully be out this summer. I really hope it's out this summer. So I'm ready for that. Hopefully, I might be ready for that. But long time coming, and I'm so excited that it is finally maybe getting close to arrival. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our first break here. Today, I want to keep the energy high. I'm in a big energy mood here today. So I'm picking a lot of game-related music that's generally high energy or high BPM, we'll call it. We're starting out with Reply Code Alpha from Mr. Voltron, the wonderful mix all about the boss from Ulduar. And then we're going on to Darude's Sandstorm, because this wouldn't be an online broadcast without Sandstorm in it somewhere. And then we'll wrap up this first break with the indelible Orc at Arms by Thoriana and Jambo Jin. Coming up in our second break, we're going to talk about where the Vanilla Initiative started, where it began way back in the day, and we're going back to Wrath Cataclysm there with that. And then after that, we'll talk about kind of the importance of the major steps that have been made in the history of the Vanilla Initiative. I say that, I use that term, and I'm going to stay with using that term, but I'll explain more about why I say that in the next segment. More Living in the Past coming up right after this. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Welcome back to Living in the Past with myself, Dan. It's good to have you back with us today. For our second segment here, we're going to dive right into it. We're going to talk about where we came from when it comes to the Vanilla Server Initiative. And in general, the community that's built up around Vanilla servers for World of Warcraft. Now, before we actually dive into that, I do want to define what I mean by Vanilla Server Initiative. The fact of the matter is that there have been a lot of people who have put time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears into bringing awareness to, making people realize the importance of, or in general contributing skills to the group effort to have these high-quality private vanilla servers. These groups that you can just join and be a part of. A lot of us remember Nostalrius, but there's been so much more than that. There have been so many other servers that have also contributed in some part to where we are now as a community. So I do want to talk about that. But when I say the Vanilla Server Initiative, I'm referring to everyone who has actively supported the vanilla server, or awareness for vanilla servers, or just vanilla in general. I'm not just talking about developers with that. I'm talking about people who have signal boosted a petition, so to say, or people who have created content around vanilla servers, in spite of the fact that sometimes Blizzard really doesn't want that stuff to happen. We know what we want, we know what we love, and we're going to play the game that we're absolutely dedicated to. So that's what I mean when I say vanilla server initiative. It's a reference to everyone who's contributed to making vanilla servers and the vanilla community a thing. So let's kind of dial things back to where, for me at least, I remember things really starting. It was most of the way through Wrath. So we're going back in easily 14 years. We're dialing it way back to when we start finding out more about the features that are going to be in Cataclysm, the features that are going to be enhanced from Wrath to Cataclysm. A big one of these is going to be the group finder being pushed into a raid finder. And we're also finding out about how the world is changing permanently. A big part of why the world was changing permanently is because flying mounts. The original map, the original world that was made way back in 2004 and previous, was not designed for people to fly most places. There were a lot of places where A, things just didn't exist, B, things were broken, or C, models had no backings or were not framed correctly. And I think the biggest example of this is the capital cities, especially Stormwind with its original castle and cathedral models that did not fit appropriately in the city itself. The biggest thing was we were losing that original world. And I don't think most of us, at least the group I was with at the time, we didn't think anything of it. That, like, we were much more concerned about Raid Finder. We were much more concerned about the skills and the talent trees starting to become a little mangled. It wasn't until Pandaria that we lost the skill trees entirely, but in Cataclysm, you had to go all the way down to the bottom of a tree before you could put points in a different tree, talent-wise. And that was starting to feel really odd. That definitely felt odd. So I don't think any of us really processed how impactful the world change was also going to be to how a lot of us perceived the world. So Cataclysm happens, the world change happens, and we have all of these mechanics put into place that really started making the game go from feeling like, okay, this is an MMO, where, in Wrath, some of that feeling started to leave, especially with Group Finder and with how the world had been presented to us. I'm still really grumpy about how the Nerubians were screwed over with not getting their city below Northrend. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Cataclysm happened, all the changes happened, and I at least for me, a lot of that sense of community really started to run away. Questing was really streamlined and focused for mostly single player content. And a lot of the economy based quests had either been this happened in Wrath as well, focused into specifically crafting quests or profession quests. There was nothing like in Badlands, for example, where you have to bring the gnome all these different random reagents and stuff. That had gone the way of the dodo much before, well before Cataclysm. But in short, to make a long story short, too late, the world started to feel very single player. It really started to lose a sense of community. We also, at this time, or it was either in Wrath that this happened or in Cataclysm, but we started getting the not cross faction, but cross server battleground groups. That actually might have been earlier. I don't remember exactly when that happened, but that I did not like at all. There was a lot of pride attached to battlegrounds for specific servers. I was on Laughing Skull, for example. We had a lot of pride in doing certain battlegrounds and getting certain battlegrounds done correctly as a faction. And the battleground groups, the server groups, really kind of took that away. And essentially it really started feeling like a single player experience where you would at times encounter other players or require other players to do multiplayer activities. Obviously, raids are still a thing. Raids have never left the game, but the raid finder really meant that there was a lot you could get done. Not everything. You couldn't get everything done with Raid Finder, but there was a lot you could. And you didn't need to work with others to get up to the point where you're doing a lot of that endgame content. You could just queue up for Raid Finder and, okay, you get to see it at least. That took a lot. That honestly took a lot out of it for a lot of us. So where that vanilla initiative drive comes from really came from a lot of that clashing of culture and game design that happened between Wrath and Cataclysm. And again, obviously, the world change was such a huge thing. Like, the world changing forever permanently to what retail essentially is now, that was painful. That was... and none of us really thought it was going to be, that distinct, but it hit hard. It hit hard, and it didn't hit in a good way either. And this is kind of where the Vanilla Initiative found its footing, in us realizing, wait, things might have been better beforehand. Things might have been good in a way that we can't get back. And that's kind of a lot where that started. So to talk a little bit about the history of what happened after that point, there were servers that really tried to start things up early on. So pre-Nostalrius. I'm going to talk pre and post-Nostalrius here. I'm going to try and do it quickly, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it quickly. Before Nostalrius, there were a few different servers. Emerald Dream started up almost immediately after Cataclysm. I don't think Pandaria had even been talked about when Emerald Dream started up in 2011, late 2011. They didn't get very far, but it was a step in the direction of this can be done. This can be done. Another server called Scriptcraft also tried to start up. That was in 2012, and they went through till about halfway through Pandaria, if my memory serves correctly. I could be wrong about that. I think they survived about halfway through Pandaria, but there wasn't a lot of activity, and they were shut down pretty fast. But these Emerald Dream and Scriptcraft kind of went the mile of showing this can be done. This is something that, if you do correctly, it can function. Not to say Emerald Dream or Scriptcraft did it as well as Nostalrius did, but they did kind of pave the way to show it is possible, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, then, Nostalrius Begins happened in 2015. I believe February 2015 all the way through April 2016. April 2016, I believe. And they obviously they set a very strict level for quality. This is vanilla. It's, to the best of our recollection, how things should function. And a couple things kind of came out of that. One is that level of quality to show that private groups can make a Blizz-like state. They can kind of reenact that standard of quality that the vanilla devs really set in place, and even maybe build off of that. It also showed that a private server group can actually make a server cluster versus just a single server, because there was Nostalria's PvP and Nostalria's PvE running concurrently. Almost said congruently, and that does not make any sense. Concurrently. So they were running multiple servers at the same time. It also, and we were very grateful for this as a community, as a vanilla server initiative, when the shutdown happened in 2016 for Nostalrius, that they preserved their server core, the actual core of the data itself, to then build off of. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert and know exactly what a server core is made of, data-wise. Obviously, there is no physical core. It's databases. It's information. But it kind of set that precedent of, okay, even if a server is shut down, we can see how they built their actual server itself, how they took a lot of that data and extrapolated off of it and built off of it. And I believe that actually went on to help a lot of different servers. After Nostalrius was shut down, there was Elysium. And Elysium had Anathema, Darrowshire, and I believe they experimented with one or two other servers. However, there was unfortunately a lot of controversy with Elysium. For better or worse, there was not necessarily like assumption, but there was a lot of rumor mongering about misappropriation of funds with them, and a lot of trust was lost. I'm actually personally not sure what happened. I was able to not able, but I was forced to kind of step away from vanilla during this time. This was 2016, 2017. I had a lot of real life stuff going on that didn't let me play a ton. So I actually don't know a lot of what happened when it comes to whether or not there actually was wrongdoing with Elysium. However, that kind of, okay, we don't want to be associated with this people, did spawn a different server group in late 2017 called Light's Hope. And they had, I believe, 3 different servers. I think 3 different servers. There was also a few side servers that spun up afterwards congruently, around the same time frame as Light's Hope, with its servers called Northdale and Silver Hand. Northdale and Silver Hand. All of these servers, however, shut down in 2019 when Classic Vanilla launched. That was kind of the promise that they had all made to the community, is if Blizzard does finally support Vanilla, we'll go ahead and turn things off for supporting the actual live vanilla servers. And of course, we all know how well that worked out. Not bitter at all. Now, that's not the end of the vanilla server initiative. Obviously, we're here on Turtle. And Turtle has been going strong for quite a while now. There are also a few other servers that launched before Turtle did. In early 2001, a server called Highjaw launched. Didn't do great, unfortunately. Had about 1,000 players or so. They eventually actually merged into Turtle at some point. Darrowshire launched in mid-2021. I actually thought Darrowshire was dead. I didn't think Darrowshire was still up. Apparently, it might still be functional, though. But their website's entirely gone, so I don't think you can actually register new accounts. Also, Warmane and Kronos are still up. Warmane especially has kind of lurked in the vanilla background and private server in general background. They do a lot of later expansions. And they've kind of lurked in the background for a long time. Very kind of pay to win over there, which is their cup of tea, and they do what they want with it, but certainly not for me. And that kind of brings us up to the current times where there's Turtle. There's one or two other servers that are still available, and then there's one or two servers that are currently on the way up, like being constructed. But needless to say, the vanilla server initiative is still going incredibly strong. And it's wonderful to see so many people trying to get involved to this day. Content creation is actually slowly picking back up, very, very slowly, but it is starting to pick back up on this. And it's actually exciting to see what Ecolox is doing with content creators right now for Turtle. And if you don't know what that is, you need to be on the Discord. You need to be on the Turtle WoW Discord. Also, I should give a mention to the classless realm, and I actually don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I thought I had a client of it installed. I actually don't anymore. But there has been a vanilla TBC classless realm up for I think about 5-6 years now, and it's a very interesting, very hardcore experience where you really have to know what you're doing to get into it. It is not for the faint of heart. It's a little intense for me, but I did make a couple different interesting classes, including a rifleman over there. And it was a lot of fun to play. But it is very intense. Like, again, you need to know what you're doing for that. All right, I have droned on so long about this, but I wanted to fit all this information and to have it documented. I'm sure I missed some servers. I'm sure I missed some points in time that are really important to vanilla, but I've done kind of the best I can with this. Moving on here. We do have another break coming up. This break is going to be Power of the Horde by Level 10 Elite Tauren Chieftain from Warcraft 3. Take Control by Old Gods of Asgard. That's from the Control soundtrack. And lastly, for this break, and I'm going to justify this as video game music, Superman by Goldfinger, because without Superman, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater would not have stuck in my mind nearly as well as it did. That entire soundtrack was ballistic. It was incredible. So that's how I justify that. Coming up after this break, guild shoutouts. We're going to try and get through these as fast as possible because there is a lot of them. This is the most we've ever had for guild shoutouts, and I'm so happy to have them here. So, more Living in the Past coming up right after this. The musical tracks for this episode have been removed due to YouTube copyright. To listen to the full episodes with music, tune in to Everlook Broadcasting every Friday with the in-game radio widget. Welcome back to Living in the Past with myself, Dan. It's good to have you here today. It's our final segment of the episode, and you know what that means. It's guild shoutouts time. I'm gonna try to have my voice hold up all the way through this, but if it gets a little rough, please be understanding. I'm trying to make this sound as good as possible for all of these guilds. They do deserve it. So, without further ado, we're going to start on Nordinar. Starting over on Nordinar with the Nordinar guilds. The Emerald Dream is an EU NA raiding guild with all content on farm. They have a wide mix of nationalities and time zones in the guild. Main raiding and chat language is English, but there's a lot of people speaking different languages here and there. They're currently looking for both new and experienced players that want to raid in a stable and friendly group. New players are welcome to join and progress through all the raids, learn mechanics, get gear, and have fun until you want more. For experienced players, we can offer a bit of a challenge in Naxx timed runs, perfectly perfecting the craft and still having fun. They currently raid Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 18:30 server time and are specifically looking for priests, shamans, druids, paladins, hunters, and warlocks. EU-based English-speaking raiding guild Cold Embrace is looking for new recruits. Join the adventure and conquer epic raids with them. All current content for them is on farm. Are you looking for a friendly and committed raiding guild? Look no further. Cold Embrace is recruiting new members to join their weekly raid clears. At the moment, they're looking for warlocks, warriors, priests, and paladins, and raid at 1900 CEST Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Doom Turtles is a coalition raiding group that welcomes any gamers from any guild. They pride themselves on having the server-first sub 130 Naxxramas clear on the server. Their team is dedicated, skilled, and always striving for excellence. All new raiders will start in BWL and AQ40 before progressing to Naxxramas. Your performance in these initial raids will determine how quickly you can join their Naxx runs. They use the EPGP system for loot distribution in Naxx and Cthulhu. For other raids, they use SR, MS, OS systems. They are currently looking to recruit a few more priests, holy, shamans, resto, and warlocks to complete their roster for BWL, AQ40, and Naxxramas. Any good players will be considered. The Stormwind Opportunity League is a casual progression guild with a plan to progress through all raiding content Turtle WoW has to offer. All classes and specializations are welcome, from mage tanks to healing rogues. Everyone has the opportunity to play the game however they enjoy. If you want to take part in their fun-focused raiding community, reach out to anyone in-game or PM Ben Hart on Discord for an invite. All raids start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time or 0 server time every Saturday, Monday, and Wednesday. And invites start 30 minutes before raid. They're currently recruiting hunters, mages, and shaman. Dancing Boars are looking for more like-minded players to join their ranks. If you find chill but serious raiding with a lot of banter to your liking, they're the guild for you. Anyone who is interested in raiding is welcome to join them, new players and seasoned veterans alike. Your gear doesn't matter. There's a lot of gear up for grabs in lower raids. There's also on offer lots of support for new players, whether it be dungeon groups, attunement costs, or advice about your class. For their Naxx roster, they're currently looking for resto shamans, hunters, ret paladins, disc priests, and fire mages. Raid times are at 18:30 CET, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Are you seeking a vibrant community where camaraderie and conquest go hand in hand? Look no further. Welcome to Moments on Turtle WoW's Nordinar server, where the bonds of friendship are as strong as their desire for epic loot and glorious victories. They believe in creating a warm and welcoming environment where every member feels valued and included. Whether you're a seasoned raider or a newcomer to Azeroth, there's a place for you in Moments. Journey with them as they traverse the perilous dungeons and treacherous raids of classic World of Warcraft. From the fiery depths of Molten Core to the frozen halls of Naxxramas, they're dedicated to conquering all challenges that come their way. Moments understands that the heart of any guild lies within its members. That's why they prioritize fostering friendships and building strong bonds among players. Join us, or them rather, for guild events, PvP battles, or simply a night of laughter and storytelling around the campfire. They're seeking additional dedicated healers and ranged DPS classes for their active raid roster, and they raid Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays and Sundays at 7:15 Berlin time. Hard Knock Society is a raiding guild with all content on farm, including 15 of 15 sub-2-hour Naxxramas runs, and they're looking for dedicated players to support their Naxx raiding team. Expect a friendly, organized, constantly improving raid environment, ensuring consistency throughout all raid content, and a positive attitude from their raiders. They offer knowledgeable, friendly, and supportive leadership from classic, vanilla, and other private servers, a progressive rank system which each player can advance from one raid tier to the next, suitable for both experienced and new raiders. A guild Discord with experienced, helpful players from each class. A guild bank with raid materials available for all guild members. They use an EPGP loot system with a set 15% decay, and they raid Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and Sundays at a variety of times. I'm going to do my best with this next one. They have a very interestingly written promotion on the Discord, and I'm not going to try for an accent, but I am going to read this mostly verbatim. Ahoy, mateys! Welcome aboard the East Oceanic Trading Company. They be a pillaging guild, for online swashbucklers during Asian and Oceanic hours, as well as for early birds from NA and EU. They set sail for raids on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. GMT plus 10. They're currently plundering all raids and smashing knacks, and are actively recruiting all motivated, keen and raiders. They welcome all hands, whether you're a seasoned sailor or a fresh-faced deckhand. Loot distribution is SRMSOS, with some HR items for active raiders to aid in the guild's progression. So come hoist the colors and join their crew, matey. Pantheon is an NA guild currently recruiting for 15 of 15 Nax clears. They have all the content on Turtle WoW on farm and currently raid Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Pantheon is a guild of friends, family, and strong community members. They are not a speedrun guild, but clear all Turtle WoW content weekly. They're looking for shamans, holy paladins, resto druids, hunters, and rogues for the raid roster. For this next one, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the name of the guild. I will do the best I can, but I'm not sure I have the pronunciation accurate, so apologies if I don't. Macrokelly's is a guild founded on Turtle WoW in 2020 with the goal of efficiently clearing all raiding content. Killing Kel'Thuzad since April of 2022, they are the oldest North American guild on the server, and they're looking for your aid. Macrokelly's is currently looking for any dedicated gamer to join their raiding team. All their 40-man raids start at 8 p.m. Eastern or midnight GMT. Regardless of your experience in vanilla raiding, they hope to provide a comfortable place to explore the depths of your class. They have an inclusive and friendly social environment with people online to chat 24/7 and a comprehensive Discord server for class theory crafting. In their BWL, AQ40, and Nax, they employ a DKP bidding system and pride themselves on loot transparency and efficient raiding with a sense of professionalism. They're also a member guild of Dragonwatch, the World Boss Coalition. Please drop on by, read their code of conduct, send one of their officers a DM or whisper in-game, and come be a turtle with some bite. Nerds of a Feather is an international, inclusive, casual raid guild that is now 14 of 15 in Nax. They have NA and EU raid teams. They insist on a casual raid atmosphere, and no jerks are allowed. This means they are also LGBTQ+ friendly, welcome new players, and actively monitor guild chat to make sure people keep it in the friendly and welcoming place that it is. Nerds of a Feather is a great place for both experienced raiders who are tired of hanging with sweatlords and a good place for folks who have never raided before. They're working on KT and Nax now and clear all other content weekly. Nerds of a Feather also features a monthly Ladies' Night raid where only raiders identifying as female may join. The EU team is currently mostly in need of warlocks, paladins, and the NA team is currently mostly in need of mages, shamans, and warlocks. And both teams always want more nerds of all types who just want to have fun. Both teams combined for Nax with a short 1 to 2 hour run on Saturdays with a follow-up on Sunday at 5 p.m. server time, noon Eastern. All other raids are spread out between the different raid teams. Tired of wandering Azeroth alone? Do you want to join a guild that combines passion for gaming with a friendly and relaxed atmosphere? Welcome to Tabula Rasa. They're an international guild ready to explore dungeons, clear raids, and have fun together. Whether you're new or a veteran, join them for an unforgettable adventure. Contact one of their recruiters to join their Discord and write new epic stories together. Alrighty, and now we're switching over to Telebeam guilds now. Nomads is an EU-based raiding guild. They're currently looking for loyal and reliable players to raid with them and be part of their progression on Turtle WoW. There are no gear or level requirements to join, just a fun person who may be interested in joining their raiding journey. Fellowship of the Ping is an East Coast-based guild of friends IRL. They're looking to grow their core group and help those who are still leveling. Message anyone from Ping in-game for an invite. Sons of Mukla is a more casual guild that have all raids on farm on Telebeam. ES hard mode is still a work in progress, however. In prep for AQ40 releasing, they are looking to fill these select roles: Resto Druids, Priests, Warlocks, Warriors, and Rogues. They're also looking for a potential extra tank. If you know the ins and outs of tanking and want to take up this role, they can chat with you more about that directly. Mabap Speed Hack is looking for motivated players of all classes, mainly Fury Warriors, who want to invest in the long term. They want to gear new players as fast as possible to perform together. All content currently is cleared. Their MC is at 42 minutes, BWL is at 58 minutes. Their ES hard mode is at 35 minutes. They are gunning for that server-first AQ40. If you have a lot of experience in this where you belong, if you have a lot of experience, this is where you belong. Also doing some speed runs, currently in the top 10 leaderboard on TWOW. They raid Thursdays and Sundays at 18:30 p.m. server time. They have a chill atmosphere with lots of active gamers. Skeleton is a casual speed-clearing Telebeam NA Alliance guild looking for like-minded individuals looking to push themselves through current content and figure out fun and innovative solutions in order to complete that goal. They are a friendly bunch with a focus on unity and helping each other become the best versions of themselves possible. Message Donker or Nagrim for information. Vendetta is a Horde EU guild with a focus on regularly clearing all accessible raid content. There also might be a tendency to melt down Alliance and BGs here and there. To maintain weekly clear runs at a good pace, they're always looking for dedicated players to become part of their community. They offer you a friendly environment with a big focus on supporting each other and helping new players to get things going. Don't hesitate if you're new to the game or in case you're playing a new build or class that you aren't familiar with yet. Even though their guild is based on a core of experienced players, they also have many people who see the content for the first time. They see this mixture of oldies and fresh players as an important factor to be successful in the long run, as well as giving players the opportunity to play the classes and builds they prefer. Instead of forcing players into specific roles, they always try to have the best raids possible with what they're offered. Ani Fans is a Horde US NA time zone based raiding guild looking for warlocks, hunters, healers, feral druids, and anyone skilled. They're looking to add more people to their solid core of raiders to continue clearing Molten Core and BWL and AQ40 when it opens. If you're still leveling up but plan to raid, that's great. You can join as well. Their raid times are at Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and ZG, Kara, and Ani are on off days when people are available. Error is one of the largest guilds with very active members on the Horde side. They pride themselves on being semi-hardcore while fostering a fun, familial atmosphere with progressive raiding on farming raids. For veteran players, Error is a combination of TOA and Guild. Their officers have years of experience in Classic WoW, having cleared most of the vanilla content. Their primary aim is to conquer all the content WoW provides. They prioritize quality over quantity in recruiting, valuing teamwork and companionship above all else. They encourage active participation on Discord to cultivate a strong group-oriented community. Currently, they're seeking a few active players for AQ40's release, dedicated to farming nature-resist items before the gates open. If you're seeking a vibrant, active, and dedicated community, and are eager to embark on epic progression together, they invite you to join them on their journey. And that's guild shoutouts done. Boy, that was a lot of them. I'm so happy we were able to fit so many in. As I've been reading these, I'm trying to think if the gates have already opened, and I think they might have already opened, so some of these may be slightly dated in that regard. Apologies if that is the case. I am taking these directly off of Discord, so if they are slightly dated, some of these were posted earlier in the month. So, reminder to update your guild postings regularly, please and thank you. But with that being said, let's close up shop here. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. Our nostalgia continues, even though today's broadcast is at an end. And I hope you enjoyed the show here today. A huge thank you to the Turtle developers, moderators, staff, and volunteers. Without the entire team's hard work and dedication, we wouldn't have this station or server group. An additional thank you to the audio engineers and creators here for the use of their soundtracks they've created, which we use for segment transitions and intro audio. If you'd like to find out more about what I do, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@thedannation and my series Ancient Lore, a recapture of the spirit of my original podcast, The Ancient of Lore. Until next month, we'll aim for towards the end of next month.